The family will. I never thought my family could break apart over something as simple as a house. But looking back, it wasn't just a house. It was years of secrets, lies, and hidden grudges boiling over until none of us could recognize each other anymore. It started when my grandfather passed away last winter. He was the rock of our family, the kind of man who held everyone together even when we didn't deserve it. His will was supposed to be read in the lawyer's office, with all of us present. That's what he always said. But when the day came, my dad showed up with papers already in hand. Dad wanted it this way, he insisted. He left the house to me. Everything else is to be divided equally. Something felt off. Why would my grandfather, who always preached about fairness, leave everything important to just one person? I tried to speak up. Wait, shouldn't the lawyer be here? Grandpa always said. My dad cut me off. The lawyer's office is busy. This is the signed will. End of discussion. The rest of the family stayed silent. My aunt avoided eye contact, my younger sister looked confused, and my brother just shrugged. It was easier for everyone to accept it than fight. Everyone except me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something in my gut told me my dad was lying. My grandfather loved all of us. He wouldn't have left the house, the most valuable thing he owned, to just one child. I started digging. I checked through old drawers in Grandpa's study, places I remembered him hiding things as a kid. Receipts, photos, letters, and then, tucked behind a stack of magazines, I found an envelope. It was sealed, with my name on it. Inside was a handwritten letter. If you're reading this, then I've gone. The house should belong to all of you, not just one. The official will is in Mr. Bradley's office. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Be brave. My heart pounded. My father was lying. But what do you do when the person lying is your own parent? Do you stay quiet or risk tearing the family apart? The next day, I confronted my dad. Where's the real will? I demanded. He glared at me. You don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out the letter. His face went pale, just for a second, but enough. You think you know better than me, he snapped. That house is mine. I took care of him. I deserve it. It wasn't about fairness for him. It was about greed. When I told the rest of the family, the reaction was explosive. My aunt shouted, my brother accused me of making it up, and my sister burst into tears. But I refused to back down. We went to Mr. Bradley's office, the family lawyer. And sure enough, the official will was there. Clear as day. Grandpa had left the house to all of us, to be shared. My dad had forged a fake document. Imagine finding out your parent not only lied to you but committed a crime to steal from his own family. The fallout was brutal. My dad yelled, swore, and even threatened to cut ties with all of us if we didn't let him have the house. But the truth was out. Mr. Bradley helped us file the documents properly, and the forged will was destroyed. Legally, my dad had no case. But emotionally, things were broken forever. The worst part? My sister came to me later that night, tears in her eyes. Why did you have to do this? She whispered. You ruined everything. Now Dad hates us. I wanted to scream. I wasn't the one who lied, who betrayed everyone. But in her eyes, I was the one who exposed it. Sometimes telling the truth doesn't set you free, it chains you to consequences you never wanted. It's been months now. The house is technically ours, but none of us talk about it. My dad hasn't spoken to me since. My brother avoids me. My aunt pretends nothing happened. I still wonder if I did the right thing. I proved my dad was a liar. I honored my grandfather's real wishes. But at the cost of destroying my family. Was it worth it? I still don't know. The secret my mother hid. I always thought my family was ordinary. Messy at times, loud during holidays, but nothing out of the ordinary. That illusion shattered when I found out the truth my mother had been hiding for decades. It started with something small, my mom avoiding certain conversations whenever my uncle was mentioned. I thought it was just sibling drama, until one day I stumbled across an old photo album buried in the attic. In it, there were pictures of my uncle and my dad. Together. Smiling. Arm in arm like best friends. Except here's the thing, my mom always told us she met my dad through college friends. She never once mentioned my uncle had known him first. At first, I brushed it off. Families are complicated, right? But then I found something else. A letter, yellowed with age, tucked inside the album. Addressed to my uncle. From my dad. I can't do this anymore. She doesn't know, and she can't know. But one day the truth will come out. Forgive me. My blood ran cold. What truth? Why would my dad write this to my uncle, of all people? I couldn't let it go. That night, I confronted my mom. Why did Dad write letters to Uncle Mark? I asked carefully. Her face went white. She froze, then tried to laugh it off. You're overthinking. They were friends before I met your father. That's all. But I knew she was lying. I started digging deeper. Old drawers, forgotten boxes, even the basement where Mom never let us go. And that's when I found the second letter. This one was worse. If she finds out, everything falls apart. But I can't stop seeing you. I need you, even if it's wrong. My father wasn't just hiding something from my mom. He was hiding something about her brother. My head spun. Were they having an affair? It seemed impossible. Disgusting. And yet the letters were there. For days, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying family dinners, holidays, birthdays. The way my mom avoided eye contact with my uncle. The way my uncle always seemed tense around Dad. It all suddenly made sense. But if my mom knew, why keep the family together? Why keep up the act? I decided to confront my uncle. He looked exhausted when I showed him the letters. His hands trembled. Where did you find these? He asked quietly. In the basement, I said. What's going on? Tell me the truth. He sighed, tears welling in his eyes. You don't want to know. I do, I snapped. I have to. And then he told me everything. Be careful what you ask for, because sometimes the truth destroys more than lies ever could. Turns out, my dad and my uncle had been in love before my mother ever entered the picture. They were together in secret for years, hiding from family and society. Then my mom came along. She fell for my dad, hard. And when she found out about him and her brother, she gave him an ultimatum. Marry me, start a family, and never speak of this again. Or I'll tell everyone. And my dad chose her. Why didn't you ever say anything? I whispered. My uncle shook his head. Because I loved him enough to let him go. And because your mother made sure I stayed silent. Imagine finding out your mother forced your father into a marriage, and your whole existence was a deal, not love. When I confronted my mom again, she broke down. You don't understand, she cried. Back then, people wouldn't accept it. He needed a normal life. I gave him that. I saved him. Saved him? I shouted. You trapped him. You trapped both of you. She slapped me. It was the first time she had ever hit me. After that, I couldn't look at her the same way. Neither could my siblings, once I told them. The family fractured. My mom insisted she was right, that she protected us. My uncle stopped coming to holidays. And my dad, he just stared at me with empty eyes, as if begging me not to dig any deeper. But I already had. The final blow came a month later. I got another letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was just one sentence, in my dad's handwriting. I wish I had chosen differently. That's when I realized, my whole life was built on a decision my dad regretted every single day. Now, years later, the family is still shattered. My mom refuses to admit she did anything wrong. My uncle lives alone, bitter and broken. My dad goes through the motions like a ghost. And me? I can't stop wondering if I should have left the truth buried. Because sometimes, the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes, it chains you forever to pain you can never escape. The promotion that broke us. I never cared much about office politics until it swallowed me whole. I'd been working at the company for 5 years, quietly doing my job, staying out of drama. My best friend at work, Daniel, started the same day I did. We were inseparable, lunch breaks together, late nights finishing projects, even hanging out on weekends. We always joked that one day we'd run the place side by side. But then the promotion came up. A manager position. Twice the salary, real power, real respect. Everyone knew only one of us would get it, me or Daniel. What happens when your best friend becomes your biggest rival? At first, we swore it wouldn't change anything. May the best man win, Daniel grinned, raising his coffee. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. Best man wins. But as the weeks dragged on, things got ugly. Daniel started staying later than me, copying my ideas in meetings, even taking credit for reports I'd written. At first, I let it slide. He was my friend, right? But then I overheard him in the break room. He's not leadership material, Daniel was saying. I'm the only real choice. He'll crack under pressure. My stomach twisted. Would you fight back against betrayal or stay silent to protect a friendship? I decided to fight. If Daniel wanted war, fine. I doubled my hours, volunteered for everything, impressed every client I could. It was exhausting, but I refused to let him walk all over me. Then, 2 days before the final decision, my boss called me into his office. Look, he said, lowering his voice. There are rumors going around about you. About mishandling project funds. I was stunned. That's not true. Who said that? He didn't answer, but I knew. Daniel. That night, I confronted him. How could you? I shouted. You spread lies about me? He didn't even flinch. This is business. Grow up. Only one of us gets the job. I felt like I was staring at a stranger. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come from your enemies, it comes from the person you trust most. The day of the decision came. HR called us both in. The new manager is Daniel. He smirked, shook my hand, and whispered, "Told you I'd win." Something in me broke that day. For weeks, I thought about quitting. I hated walking into the office, hated seeing him in the corner office that should have been mine. Everyone treated him like a hero. No one knew the truth. Until one night. I was working late, trying to distract myself, when I saw Daniel's laptop open on his desk. He had stepped out. Normally, I'd never snoop. But then I saw a folder labeled Expenses. Curiosity 1. Inside were dozens of files. Fake invoices. Altered receipts. Money siphoned off projects. Daniel hadn't just lied about me. He was stealing from the company. The man who ruined my life was about to ruin his own, and I had the proof in my hands. I printed everything. My hands shook the whole time. The next morning, I slid the folder across my boss's desk. You need to see this. The fallout was immediate. Daniel was suspended, investigated, and within weeks, fired. The promotion was stripped from him. But here's the twist. They didn't give it to me. HR decided the scandal made the whole department look bad. They brought in an outsider for the position. I destroyed my best friend, but I didn't win either. Was it worth it? Daniel never spoke to me again. Last I heard, he moved states, working at some small firm, bitter and broke. And me? I'm still at the same desk, doing the same job, wondering if I did the right thing. If I'd kept quiet, maybe he'd still be my friend. Maybe I wouldn't feel this emptiness every day. But then I remember the lies, the betrayal, the stolen money. And I realize he destroyed us long before I exposed him. The neighbor's secret. I used to think I lived in the safest neighborhood in the world. Quiet streets, friendly people, everyone waving as they walked their dogs. The kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. At least, that's what I believed until the night I learned who my neighbor really was. Her name was Mrs. Carter. Sweet old woman, lived alone across the street. She'd bake cookies for the kids on Halloween, bring out lemonade in the summer, even water people's plants when they went on vacation. Everyone loved her. Everyone, except my dog. Dogs don't lie. And mine hated Mrs. Carter with a passion I couldn't explain. Every time we walked past her house, he'd bark, growl, and pull at the leash like crazy. I'd scold him, embarrassed, while she just smiled and waved from her porch. "It's fine, dear," she'd say sweetly. Some dogs just don't like me. But I couldn't shake the feeling. One evening, while taking out the trash, I saw her struggling with a big black garbage bag. It looked heavy. Too heavy for someone her age. Need help? I called. She jumped. Literally jumped, like I'd caught her doing something wrong. Then she forced a smile. No, I've got it." And she dragged the bag into her garage. The next morning, something strange happened. A moving truck pulled up next door to her house, but nobody moved in. Instead, 2 men unloaded boxes and left. The boxes stayed in her garage. I couldn't stop thinking about it. What's in the boxes? Why does a sweet old lady need late-night deliveries she doesn't want anyone to see? I told myself to ignore it. People have private lives. Who was I to snoop? But then, a week later, a girl went missing in our town. 16 years old. Posters went up everywhere. And my dog wouldn't stop barking at Mrs. Carter's garage. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring out my window, watching her house. Around 2 a.m., I saw her garage light flicker on. A shadow moved inside. I grabbed my phone and started recording. The next day, I showed the video to my friend Alex. "Man, you're paranoid," he said. "She's probably just a hoarder or something." Then why the deliveries? Why the secrecy? I pressed. He shrugged. "If you're so worried, go ask her." So I did. Sometimes the worst mistake you can make is asking the question you don't want the answer to. I knocked on her door. She opened it with her usual warm smile. "Hi, Mrs. Carter. Sorry to bother you. I just noticed some late-night deliveries. Everything okay?" For a second, her smile cracked. Just for a second. Then it returned, even brighter. "Oh, dear, nothing to worry about. Just some things my nephew sends me. Cleaning supplies, storage, you know how it is." Her eyes didn't blink the whole time she spoke. Something inside me screamed, "She's lying." That night, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I decided to break into her garage. I waited until the neighborhood was quiet, slipped across the street, and forced the side door open with a screwdriver. The smell hit me first. Metallic. Rotten. Like something dead. I covered my nose and stepped inside. The boxes from the moving truck were still there. I ripped one open. Inside were clothes. Dozens of them. Jeans, shirts, jackets. All different sizes. Some had stains on them. Dark stains. And then I saw it. A pink backpack. The same one from the missing girl's poster. That's when I realized the sweet old lady wasn't who we thought she was. I stumbled back, heart racing. My phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. The garage light flicked on. Mrs. Carter stood in the doorway. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice cold. Not sweet. Not kind. Cold. I stammered. The police. I'm calling the police. She smiled. But not the friendly smile I knew. This one was sharp, cruel. Go ahead, she whispered. See who they believe. You, or me. I ran. Grabbed my phone, sprinted home, locked every door and window. I called the police, shaking, told them everything. When they arrived, they searched her garage. It was spotless. Empty. The boxes were gone. The backpack was gone. Everything. Mrs. Carter acted confused and hurt. This young man broke into my property, she said, clutching her chest. He frightened me. The cops looked at me like I was the criminal. What do you do when the monster wears the mask of the sweetest old lady in town? They let me go with a warning. But from that day on, Mrs. Carter never waved at me again. Instead, every time I passed her house, she'd just watch me. Silent. Smiling that cruel smile. The missing girl? Never found. Sometimes, late at night, I still see that garage light flicker on. And I wonder how many more boxes are hidden inside.